G'day guys, Clint here, recording episode number 53 of The Full Landscape with Mr. Rob Cooper from Distinctive Gardens. Rob and I have been friends for over a decade now. He is working in, I guess, the upper echelon of residential landscape and landscape design here in South Australia. I've kind of been at Rob to do a podcast with me for a little while, and it's always been when the time's right, when the time's right, when the time's right, when the time's right. We've decided this year we were going to do it in spring, which is now. We've dragged it forward to early spring, so we've had to do it in the studio. We were hoping to do it in his garden. In this podcast, I talked to Rob about his early career in landscaping and what got him to the point where he's now doing the work that he does. Rob's got a lot of experience in different facets of landscaping, all high-end residential, but also some work overseas in art installations, etc. So quite a diverse portfolio, award-winning landscaper, award-winning landscape designer. This is one that I recommend that you listen to with undivided attention. On that, I do appreciate that you guys have a lot of options when it comes to podcasts, so I appreciate you giving this the time that I think it deserves. I think you get a lot of benefit from it. If you've got any questions for Rob or myself, please don't hesitate to stick them in the comments section or send either of us a DM, and we will be back in touch with you very soon. Otherwise, that is it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, so to start with, thank you for coming in.
No worries.
I know you're probably a pretty busy time of year leading into Christmas. Can you just give us the 2-minute introduction about your name and your business, and I guess I'll probably move into a bit of a journey about how you got to running your own business now.
Rob Cooper from Distinctive Gardens. We run a small boutique landscape company with design and construct, and we tend to really like to keep everything in-house so that we can develop and basically push the limits on what we can and can't do. Yeah. And
obviously landscaping's been a part of your life for, I'm guessing, the majority of your adult life.
Yep.
Talk me through where that started, how you got into landscaping to start with.
Mum and Dad owned a garden centre, so I grew up working in a nursery. So did that, and then...
Well, as in real early days, as a kid?
Yeah, so when I was 12, I was stacking shelves or serving customers and selling plants and stuff like that. And Kangaroo Island.
Yep.
So I did that, and then obviously went away to school, started uni, didn't really enjoy the uni side of things. So, and then Cassie, my wife, her uncle was running, or was that back at Farrell Hockney those days, so he was operation manager there. So I went and worked there and ran their maintenance division for 2 or 3 years.
Because you had that horticultural...
Yeah, I did, and I was interested. I always used to call it farming in the city.
Yep.
I'm a bit of a country boy at heart.
Yep.
So did that, and then it was quite funny at that time. I was quite happy. I ended up starting running jobs there as well, and we weren't really thinking about moving, but then all of a sudden, like Ronnie and I used to do some cashies or jobs on the weekends, but we weren't thinking about it.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it went around the whole company that we were, and I went and saw the directors and said we weren't planning on it, but now
there's enough chatter.
Now there's enough chatter, and then we got a contract with Munns.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
So Ron and I went out by ourselves.
Yep.
When we started, that's 21 years ago.
Doing turf installs.
Yeah.
Yep. The referral kind of thing.
Yep.
That's funny. That's
like you did.
That's how I started.
Yep. So we did that, and then we did that for. We did it when it was successful. We did that for probably 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
And then I basically got sick of just doing that, and but Ron was happy to do that, so we sort of we bought a farm together and everything at that stage, so we sort of went, okay, now's probably a good time to split. His son was about to start working, and it was just I didn't want to keep doing that track, and he was happy too, so we went our separate ways.
So you mentioned obviously you're from KI, born and bred. When you said you went to school, did you come into Adelaide?
Yeah, I went to boarding school.
Yep.
At Emmanuel.
What age does that start?
So I went in year 11 and 12. So, Mum and Dad, not sure how they managed to do it, but it's the best thing they could have done for me.
Because financially it's a
it's a big stretch to run a small garden centre on Kangaroo Island and send 2 kids away to boarding school.
Yeah.
It's not that big. Yeah.
But reflecting on it, best thing for you?
Best thing personally for me they could have ever done.
Why?
Kangaroo Island's Kangaroo Island, and the teachers didn't they were there, but
Yeah.
they didn't challenge you.
It was very insular.
Yeah, it was just they were there. They were there for 20 years. You had
Yeah.
a job for life, so it wasn't challenging. And
Yeah.
so you'd run amok a bit. I was cheeky. I wasn't naughty. I was cheeky though.
Yeah.
And then I saw what it did to my sister, and I just saw what you could do. So then I started buckling down in year 10, and I really actually applied myself really relatively well in year 11 and 12. And
So finish year 12. You got stage 2 or whatever. The
yeah,
equivalent
I
was.
did reasonably well at school. I think I then went and what did I do? I went to go to uni, and then that just wasn't for me.
What were you going to do at uni?
My PE teaching.
Go back to KI and teach people PE.
Yeah, and I did it, and it was just sucked. So I quit 5 weeks before end of first year exams, and basically worked for 5 weeks and paid off my HECS debt, and then I went back and.
No shit. So your HECS debt was paid offable in 5 weeks.
It wasn't that much back in those days. Because I was living at home, so it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
matter.
So it was just the cost of education.
Yeah. So then I did that, and then I reckon. Well, when I was at uni, I must have been at uni after that. I must have had a gap year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even remember.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
I don't remember.
And
what it was last week.
and then I went back and ran a restaurant, like a front end of a restaurant for 6 months on Kangaroo Island, and then moved back to Adelaide, and then started landscaping. Oh, concierge, and then I landscaped.
What does KI mean to you? Like, what does that? What does
I still
KI
call it home. I love it. Like
it's part of your life. It's still a big part of your life.
Yeah, we do 2 weeks there every year.
Yep.
My kids love it. Cass loves it. Cass's mum and dad used to have a shack over at Emu Bay as well. So mum and dad are still there. So we love it. We just don't. We don't get time during the year.
It's not as practical.
It doesn't suit what we do as landscapers. So I don't think I'd live there, but
No.
I do love it. Yeah. Yeah.
So uni, left that, danced around a bit, but I guess came to landscaping pretty quickly.
Yeah, within a year. I concierge for 9 months, I reckon, and that's just the hours. I was at the Stanford Plaza, and then someone wanted me to go to the Hyatt, but the hours were just huge, and you just didn't have any life really.
Obviously, I know you a lot better than most of my guests, so I understand that there'll be questions that I'll ask you that people will be like, "How did you know that?" Rob and I have known each other for a long time. You're quite creative and quite artistic. I imagine concierging, unless you're doing some real high-end concierging and needing to be creative about how to get things for people.
Oh yeah, but you're right, and you did that, but you'd chase the tips, and you'd make sure you looked after who you needed to look after, and so that was good.
And that was even in Adelaide. Tips were a thing.
Yeah, well, back then there was. I remember when Holden was still here, and they had guys who designed the cars, and they were there for 6 months, and you'd get some good tips at the end of that.
Because you want them to, they want to have a good 6 months.
Yeah. You saw some funny sights.
Yep. Oh, I did a week work experience in a hotel, and just listening to the security guards, about what happens in the hallways between people. It's just
it's full on.
Full on. I imagine there'd be some crazy books out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Farrell and Hockney, which was obviously a commercial landscape construction and maintenance business at the time.
Yeah.
And this is 20 years ago?
20. Shit, I was 19, so I'm 45. So
say 20. Or
make over 20.
Make everyone feel better.
Well, I just said we can go up for 21. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did a podcast with Josh Hooper like 3 or 4 ago.
Yep.
And I saw on LinkedIn that he'd just celebrated 21 years as owner of Landscape Techniques.
Yep.
And I'm podcasting kids who are 21.
Yeah.
Who have been landscaping for 2 years. And there's just, I guess it's beautiful to be able to look at both ends of the spectrum and go, you're here.
Oh.
And they're here.
Yeah.
They want to be here. And they think it's going to take 2 years.
Yeah.
And the reality is it's taken 20.
It's quite funny, like I've got, obviously, Paul Jackson really well, so he works for me now, which is just great to have that insight and that knowledge base in your business, because it's, you can teach you guys as much as you can teach you guys, but until you know it or have experienced or know some ways out.
Time served.
Yeah. Like I do things and the boys will ring me and say, "Hey Rob, how would you do this?" And just say, "Oh," and they go, "Oh yeah, that." You know what I mean? And so that's the hard thing is imparting that knowledge, but then also having the time to spend with them to teach them that.
Or to scale you, and this is not like purely landscape. It's not a landscape only problem. It's all businesses. Like the owner is the bottleneck, but also the kind of the knower of all. And if you can't work out a good way to push that information
Yeah.
to your team.
Yeah, and you know, over the years I have done it really well, and then there's other times I haven't, I suppose.
Yep.
But I do think that our business is a smaller business. I've reflected on that, and that's where our sweet spot is, because we can spend our time with our clients, make sure we get the details we want, but then also it's not as sort of stressful, and you're not just pumping it out for the sake of pumping it out. And I'm not interested in doing that, and that's probably why when we scaled big, probably didn't have a few systems in place, but also we couldn't get the techniques or the details that you wanted.
Yep. So you didn't know you wanted to be a landscaper growing up? Like, it wasn't a thing?
Nah.
You weren't aware of it as a job?
No. And I did listen to Josh's podcast, and it's amazing how much the industry has grown within the last 21 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's a massive, like...
Vastly different.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hugely different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more professional. I think that's probably the one thing I've noticed, that it has to be. It's been forced to become more professional, and there's still obviously unprofessional people out there that call themselves landscapers, but I think that they're getting less and less.
Yeah, but it's also the techniques that made us have to get more professional, like wet lay tiling and stuff like that. Like, whereas just back in the day, there was nothing like 10 years ago. You weren't really wet. Oh, it might have been 15. I can't remember.
You would have been at the forefront of wet laying if you were doing it 15 years ago.
And we've all made our mistakes doing it. So
using the wrong products.
Oh, well, it's just you use the products and you got to understand how they work, and then sometimes they don't work like that, and then you got to fix it, and then...
I think suppliers have probably had as much, and I don't mean like from my supplier standpoint, but you look at companies like Gripset or...
Yeah, but I still think some of the new stuff's not as good as the old stuff. But
the style or the products. But what I was getting, like, those guys are actively trying to produce products that do a better job.
And and you know what, I reckon actively they're trying to, but then also, and this might sound wrong, I think actively they're scaring us as well.
By going to...
Or they're saying you have to do this, and if you don't, we don't warranty this and we don't warranty that. Whereas I've done systems like that, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah, because I know, and I don't want to name names because I guess it's dangerous, but there are companies that will say if you don't use the full system, it doesn't work.
Yeah, no, they won't warranty.
Yeah, that's right. I know Gripset aren't like that. I think they're pretty open, but there are.
But the thing is
it
I
works.
might be wrong, but it feels like that they're the ones that then will first find the first wrong thing and find a reason why.
Yeah, it's almost like the insurance company kind of going, well, we've got a videotape here of you doing this, so we can't pay you out. Sorry.
Yeah,
just trying to find a way not to. No, I get that.
Yeah, so for me is we use our system that we believe works really well, and we don't have any issues with that.
Yeah.
We have done other systems that people say we should use, and I don't find they have worked as well. But that's just...
We had a similar situation with an irrigation supply job here where the manufacturer weren't willing to warrant what we had designed, even though it was all their products. It'd just never been done in the world before. And I just said to Matt, I don't care, just do it. Yep. And I'll personally warrant it, which is probably a situation.
So same with me. I trust that we're doing the right technique.
Yep.
And if it doesn't work, we'll warranty it. But it's a case of we haven't had any callbacks on any of it.
No, and we're talking 15 years or 20 years, aren't we?
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit earlier about you're a small boutique landscape construction firm. That hasn't always been the case. I mean, at your peak, you had 20 plus working.
Yep.
Why not? You talked briefly about having less control. Are you I guess happier running a smaller business?
100%.
That's a...
Yep. Yeah. No. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like you felt like, and again, I'll admit that, you know, we probably didn't have enough systems in place, and maybe we didn't have enough training.
Yeah.
But it was also a case that I didn't have the enjoyment doing it because I just didn't do what I enjoyed to do. Like, I love to design and I love to be hands-on a bit, and I like to get in the trenches with the boys, and you know what I mean? But I also like to have that time with the clients, and I just wasn't doing that.
Yep. That's a lot of things to try and fit into a 50, 60, 70.
And I do too many things in a week now, and things will probably, obviously, moving forward are going to change a little bit, but it's probably a lesson I need, and it's an opportunity to change a bit.
What does a day in the life of Rob Cooper look like, or a week in the life of Rob Cooper like? I know you get up pretty early.
I'm an early riser, only because I have clarity of thought then, so I don't usually respond to emails during the day unless it's urgent. I just find that during the day I don't have any emails on my phone. I just feel that sometimes you just punch stuff out and it can be construed the wrong way. And
As in the context of
Yeah.
the way you've written something might
yeah,
be.
or you might be a bit irrational about the response. So
Yep.
I like to put a bit of thought behind my emails. So I always do emails in the morning, and I'd like to design in the morning because I drive around a lot during the day, but I'm often thinking about my designs or how I do it. So when it comes to drawing, it's easy because I've already thought about it, or what you start putting it on paper and it expands, and so I do a lot of that in the morning, and then as of late, I've been getting to site a little bit later because the boys are flying along and they don't need me there as much.
Yep. So, I mean, 4:30 is not an unusual time for you to wake up.
4.
4. Yep. Jesus. What time do you go to sleep?
I'm in bed by 8:30
Yeah.
though.
Okay. So you're
I'm
dragging the whole day.
So I
back.
still get a full 8 hours sleep. I just don't. I still see the kids and still see the family, and we have dinner together. But then I just go to bed because it's like I'm not a good operator at night. Like I used to.
You're just wasting time.
I used to end up. If you're quoting and you're fatigued, you make mistakes.
Yep.
So I just didn't find that it was productive. So now, and a lot of my clients know that. Like my phone would half the time be just left in the office.
Yep.
Get home. I usually get home about 5:30 sometimes. 6 o'clock. But either my phone stays in the office or it just goes up on the cabinet, and I don't do work at night.
So you won't have a phone next to your bed.
No, I use my iPad.
You have as an alarm. Yep. And I completely resonate with that. I'll tend to, if I'm doing work at night, it'll be easy stuff like responding to Facebook messages or doing Facebook ads.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I'm not overly active there.
But that's
yeah, but
I wouldn't be able to do. I don't want to sit down and do brain work at night.
No.
Whereas I know I got my mate Tyson. He's like 1-2 o'clock in the morning. He's still up because he gets it done. Like that's just it works for him.
And it works for some people.
Yeah,
and doesn't.
But then I don't know what time. Like these guys might not be getting up till 7 or 8.
Yeah,
And I'm like, well, that's a lot of time of the day's gone.
Yeah,
I think it's nice not to be interrupted.
I just have a good. I go down the office. My office is down probably 40, 50 metres away from the house. So I go down the office and I'm there by myself. And you just
when the phone doesn't ring, does it? Because no one's awake.
No one's awake. So no one's awake. No, I don't have any music on or nothing, and it's just quiet. It's great, and I can look out over the valley and I see the day open up, and the sun comes up, and it's just a really nice spot.
Yeah.
But I find that a good way to. That's how I start my days.
Yep. And then what? Have breakfast. Don't eat.
Usually I have breakfast. I usually sit there. And I spend half an hour usually just sitting there.
Yep.
Read. I'll check emails, maybe send emails, look at my Instagram,
whatever. Yep.
Look at Pinterest. I Pinterest sometimes in the morning and night, but I usually have a couple of cups of coffee and I'll make breakfast and then I'll go down the office.
And then so you're having breakfast early,
yeah,
straight away.
Yeah,
yeah. Wow. That's not disruptive to the household. They all sleep through your. You're not a noisy breakfast guy.
The coffee machine. Gracie doesn't wake up. She's the only one downstairs, and then
perfect.
Then breakfast. Yeah, no, not really. No.
So head down, see the guys. How many jobs are you kind of running at a time at the moment?
We're each running 1 or 2.
Yep.
It's really nice.
And before you were running 4?
Oh, sometimes plus.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. You're just running around feeling like a chook,
Yeah, mate, I've seen it. How many Ks are you doing at the moment?
I reckon I do nearly 50 a year. Yeah.
I guess from what I know, you do a bit of Port Elliot and and you obviously live in the hills and then do a bit of KI and then obviously.
I've got a job with a good client at Keith. I got to go down there again Monday.
How are they going?
They're good.
Loving life.
Yeah.
So there'd be. I touched before on the. There's probably a bunch of kids, for lack of a better term, out there that are aspiring to get into the markets that you're doing. What advice would you give a 21-year-old now that's looking to move into that space? Potentially things that you've learned that you haven't done along the way, or things that you have done that have worked. Like, what would be the top tips from Rob Cooper? Rob's top tips.
Just understand what you like, the process, or understand how you have to do it. Because if you don't understand that, that's usually where big mistakes are made. Like
the construction.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Pushing design, are you talking, or just pushing
anything? Like, obviously, you're in a boutique space, and you may not describe this, but in the top of your game in the industry, along with other people. And Josh was very clear to point that out when I suggested the same thing to him. But there's a group of 5 of you that are
we're
doing
lucky though, but
South Australia's best work
Yeah.
or best opportunities. And luck's a very interesting word to use, because if you
I reckon the harder you work, the
luckier you get. And I think it's not often that you'll find people that are at the top of their game that, you know, they just went and
there.
bought a ticket and they won their job.
Yep.
Like, that's not a thing. So yeah, like, you know, obviously, so the quality of the work.
Well, you got to be your quality of work, but you also got to be just willing to work hard.
Yep.
You know, like the thing is if you're not willing, you know, and you've got to go that extra mile. Like if you don't do that, and this is probably one thing I've really focused on lately is if you don't do that extra 2% or 3%, or you know what I mean, that's what gets one, repeat work, but two, it's what keeps customers happy and they pay the bills.
What are we talking, like just the attention to detail around cuts and grouts and plants?
Not only that is more just keep the job site clean.
Yep.
Sweep up, wash down.
Yep.
Like, you know, pressure clean when you leave. Like,
Yep.
you know, it's just housekeeping.
It feels like common sense, but it's something that you talk to me a lot about. Like, you can usually get a gist for a new employee how good they're going to be around that cleanliness.
Yep.
Or their site tidiness.
Yep.
Is that's always been the case?
100% you do, and that's probably a little regret I have. I used to always just go on, okay, well, they're still working, but I'd go and then tidy it up on the weekend or something. And that's just not, you know, if you're going to come and work and be good, you just got to make sure you do your housekeeping. It's just so important.
Yep.
Yep.
Design's a big part of your business now.
Mm-hmm.
Has it always been the case?
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah,
Yep.
like wasn't initially, but
Well, obviously,
I've been designing for a long time.
You start out with something like Munns. It's not really a design.
Yeah, but
market,
you always
is it?
wanted to push it around a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure how it actually. See, I'll admit it now. I've done no formal design training at all.
Yeah.
But I think I'm pretty good at it. But it's a case of I love it, and I love just pushing the boundaries a
I'd
little
say
bit.
if there was a pathway to RPL, you'd probably get recognition prior learning for landscape design.
You'd hope
You'd
so.
have to. Like,
you'd hope so.
yeah,
Yeah,
but who knows?
But it's a case of that's fine. I don't know, just gradually. Like I remember, a long time ago, I was still just doing a little bit of design, but I did the first ever ABC garden show. They did it at Wayville Showgrounds once, and I think they were giving away free displays if we wanted to do that.
Yep.
And so I did that, and Jacko had a display there as well.
I remember the story. I don't know if it's very. It's not nice for us to share that.
No.
I'll let Jacko share that story on his podcast.
So from that though, we got like a really good one private client.
Yeah.
We did work probably for 10 years over that, but also got Scott Salisbury Homes.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good step up at that point. I would have been designing before that, but I can't remember.
Is design a funnel to get the work? Like, And what's your success rate on design to install? Like, do you pretty much, if you design it, there's a good chance you'll get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you happy? Are you comfortable installing other people's designs?
Yes and no. In saying that, I did one with Nathan Burkett.
Yep.
The one you did a deep dive on.
Yep.
And that was
Medindie.
That was great, but it was also very difficult because I understood the whole program of it all and how it's all to be done, but there was so many layers in what we had to go through. Like we had to go through the builder, then we had to go through the architect, then we had to go through the landscape architect, and then we had to go through and the owners. You know what I mean? Like, so I was number 5 in the row.
Well, and the hard
that
thing,
was difficult.
like from what I remember, you and the owners got along really well.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, super.
So it makes it hard when you could probably just communicate directly with the owner, but you need to acknowledge and respect the chain of command, and we see it a lot.
But that was really difficult because there was, and the designs were beautiful, but there was, for example, one was the fireplace was the big bench that we did there. You actually couldn't build it the way it was, so then we had to spend hours and hours and hours of just to work out how we could do it.
Yep.
And and that's what we pride ourselves on, being able to take on challenges and working out how to do it. And so we did that, but it's like, there's a lot of hours in that.
Whereas
that
if
I
you
didn't
design
get
it
paid
yourself,
for.
you just change it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about our design is I have good relationships with my clients, and we go through, and if we need to change it a little bit, well, we can. Perfect example today is Littlehampton Pavers. they said they had pavers, and then they've said it for the last month, and then even on Friday they said they had it, and then we placed the order today.
Yep.
Or yesterday, and they didn't. So
this is the first time hearing about it.
No, it doesn't matter.
No.
But all I'm saying is so I got a sample paver, different sample paver.
Yeah.
Got it there. Rang the client and said, "Hey," and it looks great. And I maybe could have just substituted it, but you just got to tell them and just say, "Hey, this is what has happened." I can.
Yep. I think the clients that you work for are intelligent enough to make decisions. And you can I think you as a landscaper, and correct me if I'm wrong, would have to have enough emotional intelligence to know when you have to go to them and when you don't.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's probably something you go to them about.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's a case of if they put a sample paper down, then they feel like we're trying to pull wool over their eyes.
That's right. Why did you change it?
Yeah. But whereas I wouldn't go and put a sample in and say, "Hey, it's good," if I hated it.
Yeah, or like
because I don't do jobs anymore that I don't like because it's just not. I don't know.
You're at a point now where you don't have to.
No, but it's look. I want to. If I'm going to go and put time and effort in, and we're going to run a boutique company, it's got to be everything we produce has to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the clients have to be happy, and ultimately I feel that I got to be happy with it as well.
On the pretty cool side of things, obviously you've had an opportunity to do some work overseas.
Yep.
And then some pretty high level jobs over here. Just for the people listening and watching, I want to try and bring as much value as I can to them. Talk to me about opportunities like Venice, and then obviously opportunities locally that are just different that people might not know that you've worked on.
I've been lucky enough. I did had a lovely clients, and I have a lot to do with them to this day. We did their house at Medindie, and I actually won a design award. Not at Medindie, sorry, St Peter's.
Yep.
And we won a design award for that.
Yep.
And then I remember sitting there, and we were getting photos of the house, and I said to James, "James, so what crazy project are you doing now?" And he goes,
"Is this the one with the timber feature?"
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're environmental artists, and they use mallee roots and they've done sculptures all over the world. Anyway, he said, "I'm going to fill up half of Hugo Michel Gallery with a water feature, but I can't find anyone to build it for me."
Yeah.
I said, "Easy, I'll do it." And so he said, "You sure?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I got a welder in. We welded up some frames in the gallery, got a liner and filled up the gallery.
And that's here.
That was in Port Rush Road.
Yep.
And then from that, it was a case of, I'm pretty sure it was one of James's and Leslie's bucket lists to do the La Biennale in Venice, which is probably the most prestigious art exhibition in the world.
Yep.
And so they asked me if I would like to build a pond there, and I said, absolutely. So,
same kind of water feature, the same project?
Same project, but there was obviously some pretty... so the water went stale in the gallery after about 3 days.
Yeah.
So we had to then... Well, not only did we have to work out how to keep the water clean, because it was stayed there for 6 months, the floor was about 40 centimetres out of level.
That's
so,
right. And these buildings are probably...
Yeah, the 15th century. Yeah.
2,000 million years old.
Yeah, 15th century. So, and the pond was 30 metres wide by 3.2 metres. So it was a big pond. So
is this on your Instagram? There'd be photos of it.
There's photos on Instagram. And so I built that in the shed at home, and I built it in segmented sections, and we shipped it over to Venice.
What does that look like? Just shipping container, make sure you get it there before you get there and put it together? It sounds pretty easy.
It sounds pretty easy, but it wasn't. So we sent that before Christmas. I had to have it all welded. James and Leslie put all the stumps in there. We put enough stumps in, or they put enough stumps in there for, if all the stumps went rotten, we could rebuild the exhibition halfway through it if we had to.
Yep.
So had the liner, and it was I loved it. Like, it was so good, but you mad planning, because there's no Bunnings in Venice. So you know what I mean? Like,
I'd never thought about it.
So I thought of every single angle that could go wrong, might go wrong.
Well, I've got 100 questions on that. Where do they get hardware? They just leave Venice and go pick it up from somewhere else.
It's all, you got to go back to the mainland, but then there's no cars, so then they
just
everything. Yeah, but everything rocks up on a barge.
Yep.
So you got a barge and it cranes it all in and stuff like that. So I made a jig so we could crane the water feature in and stuff like that, so we could get it in there.
And this went in a shipping container.
Yeah, it went in a shipping container. So but what happened is I was due to fly out Good Friday.
I remember because there was something went wrong.
I was due to fly out Good Friday, and James was already and Leslie were already over there, and they basically rang and said, "Hey Rob, the container's still like 2 weeks away." Because I was going to fly over, have it all finished,
I remember,
and then fly back before the opening and everything like that. And so I flew over. So I cancelled my tickets like the day of flying out, and then had to reschedule and
You were here.
Yeah.
I reckon I saw you the day before. Yeah.
Yeah, and true to my form, my phone was in the office that night, so they rang me that night, and I had to ring them back the next morning. It was like, so I was pretty frantic there. And then, so when I got over there, it still was over at least another week and a bit, and we didn't even know where it was to a degree. And obviously, it was a pretty large sum those guys had invested towards it. So the water feature only rocked up on everything rocked up on our side of all the video stuff was already done. Only rocked up at Friday lunchtime and opened on the following Wednesday.
So you just had to...
So I got, and it was like, okay, we're all right. As long as it gets here Friday, that gives me Friday to put the base in, and then we can get the liner in, and then so I'll have everything finished for you, so you can start by Saturday night. You've got 2 days to put your sculptures in, and then we can fill it up Monday night, and hopefully everything's okay, and then test it on Tuesday, and then Wednesday it opens to the public.
At least if it leaks in Venice, no one will know.
No, yeah, well that's true, but it was so
it'll find its way out.
Yeah, well, it did flood, and it went to the bottom of the water feature when the floods
actual. So it came up as it does.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it did flood. It didn't get in there, but it went to the bottom of the water feature in the floods. But yeah, so when we built it, and that was pretty stressful. That was some serious hours. Yep. But it was so good. It was just an experience of a lifetime.
Have you worked on any like garden show, home show, MIFCA style? Is it like that? Was it like that? Like it's just chaotic. You just have to get it done, or was it a bit more simple?
Well, it was quite funny. Like Anton from Jumpgate Media, he did all the 3D imaging here, so they were sending files back and forth, and there was that many like for all the imaging.
Yeah, because there's a backdrop for people that are listening that can't see it. So there was a large body of water which was completely flat and shallow.
Yep, and it was mirrored because there was no movement in the water, and it reflected the.
And then there was white screens or whatever with imagery on it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So your part was to build the water. Yeah. Which is a simple task for you.
Yeah,
not for everyone.
Oh, it was awesome.
But yeah, it's not the same as building a show garden, is it? Like you've got so much different.
Yeah, well, for me, it wasn't. It was harder. Like I found the process harder getting it ready to ship because
I had to make sure it was done here.
Because I didn't want to, as we found out, I didn't want to rely on anyone because especially. From what I was told from the Italians, they're reasonably laid back within the process of how they do things.
Everything. Yeah, we'll get that.
Yeah, it was like, no worries, no one ever opens on the first day. Like, they didn't care, but we cared, you know what I mean? Like, so it's a case of, so I had to make sure. So I found that.
I love that. So it's just like, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's the deadline, but no
one's ever open, you know. But it's a case of we cared because that's what we said we'd do. Yeah. So, you know, we pushed hard and we got it done. But it's more, that was more, you know, when we were building it, it was probably pretty stressful cutting a hole in a liner. And, you know, so there was 2 holes I had to cut in the liner, and that was relatively stressful.
I remember, and I only have vague memories of it, but you buying so much shit. Like you had like liner repair kits and like test cuts and just like everything had to be.
Yeah. Oh, I had a when we did it, we put a backwash on the pump because the pump couldn't go at the front; it had to go to the back. So we had to take the water from the front all the way to the back, but then I put another pipe in too. So then if we had to go back during the year.
It couldn't be turbulent either, could it? Like the water had to be perfectly still.
Well, we had it on timer, so we had it. It was all acid and chlorine, and it was a full pull system. Yep. So we had a Connect 10 set up, so we could adjust the chlorine from here if we wanted to. Yep. So that was pretty good. Yep. And the invigilators who were there, they were fantastic looking after it, but they didn't have to clean it once.
That's cool.
So it worked super well. But we had a backwash set up so that then if we did have to empty it whilst we were there, we could just put a hose out into the canal. which we did at the end. But.
Did you go take it down?
Yeah.
So you flew back to Venice.
Yep.
To take it apart.
Yep.
And just put it in a container and flew home.
Oh, so when we did it,
or you go drink some wine and.
Oh no, I went. So James and Leslie didn't come back the second time because James he had an operation, so he didn't want to travel.
Yep.
And then I said to Leslie, look, I'm more than competent of pulling that down.
Yeah.
But they sent the IT guy over there because the projectors were super expensive.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what they'd paid. No, I didn't know what they'd paid for in hardware as well as all the cables. So Freddie, who did all that, he flew over as well.
Yep.
And then I took my brother-in-law and a good mate, Aldo.
Yep.
They came over, so they paid their tickets, and James and Leslie paid their accommodation.
Yeah, perfect.
They just helped me pull it down, and then we spent 3 or 4 days just strutting around Venice, and then
I can see the three.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I ended up buying some spouts for a water feature there for a job here.
That's cool.
And then I flew to Bali because my son was back.
That's right.
So it was a pretty manic sort of time, and those boys went and looked through a bit more of Italy.
And when this was only not long before the COVID situation.
It was just before.
Yeah, you managed to get it all done.
So,
have you done shows? Like, obviously, Mifkus is something that we
did
talked
that
about.
home show last year.
Yeah, so you won that. What's on the cards? Like, what's
Mifkus is a goal.
that's a bucket list.
Nah, it's a goal. It's not a bucket list.
Chelsea?
If I do okay in Melbourne, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'd love to do Chelsea,
Yeah.
but only one step at a time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in saying that, I've been trying to put together a reasonable resume to be able to do that, a Mifkus, because it's a pretty expensive exercise to put,
you need
put that together.
You need to pull on all your contacts and resources.
Yeah, but you also got to be able to prove that you can do it, and I think I've got a reasonable repertoire to say that, hey, I can execute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we can go to Melbourne in March next year, will you go to Mifkus?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think I think that March period of next year is like it's a real like close line for me. I'm like,
well, in saying that is, and I'm not sure if it's happening or not, but James and Les have been asked to do a job in Germany. In March next year.
Melbourne, Germany.
So I'd probably take Germany.
Yeah, well, Mifkus will be here the year after, won't it?
Then I'll do that then.
Yeah.
That's my goal. But yeah.
I've got a lot of questions and
shoot.
We're right for time. What's the best and worst thing about being a landscaper?
The best thing is, or in my position,
for you,
for me, is the fact that I get to go into a project, visualise it, design it, build it, and some we maintain.
Yeah.
So you're there for the whole turnkey process, and it's probably the best thing is when it turns out better than you think it was going to look, which is pretty cool.
Is that often?
It is, most of the time. But look,
let's talk your stuff.
I'll talk stuff up a bit.
It always looks better.
Oh, you've seen a couple of our jobs.
Yeah, there's like that job at Medindie that I came to.
That come better than I.
That was like I see a lot of nice work. And you'll remember this. I was standing there. Were you there? Yeah, and I was just like, I don't want to leave. Like I was standing by the pool in that bar area, and that backyard was very much me. Like if I had that amount of money to do something, it would be like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, do I have to go now? Like I don't want to go home. I want to stand here and just be here. Like it's good. It was just such a magnetic space. I just wanted to be there more. You don't always see that, but that's on a scale
that's a pretty big scale. But and we built things to scale there too, so I think the scale worked out really well there. It's big. Like
like you could have a primary school swimming carnival.
Well, we had Ollie from Hungry Wolf come over and actually
he's probably wondering
with us on it.
He's probably wondering what I'm doing. I sent him a message about 3 weeks ago saying, "Hey man, do you want to do a podcast?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I can only do it on a Saturday. I can't." Yeah. He couldn't do it during the week I'm guessing because he's doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Yeah, cool, man. I'll be in touch." And that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was really just about going, "Hey Duff, you happy to record on a Saturday?" Which I'm sure he would be, but he's like, "All right, tomorrow."
But that was his biggest pour. He reckons he'd done it in a week.
It looked good, like
it
the concrete work, and I've been following his work since I met him.
So we formed it, and he finished.
Yeah,
and it's a case of it was just such a, and we had to build the whole back garden before they finished the extension because
that side bit was still being built. You were going almost through an extension.
We went through the house to actually build the yard, and we needed to do that because down the other side of the house, it's very narrow, and we had the turntable
Yeah.
there, which we helped put in.
Yeah.
And then it was only you couldn't even get a bobcat through there.
No.
So it was pretty.
Just a pedestrian gate, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the worst thing about being a landscaper?
I don't know. I actually do really like it.
Conditions, weather?
Oh, weather gives you the shits. There's nothing worse than when, like, the rain pisses me off more than anything.
Yeah.
Because at least if it's hot, you can plan around hot.
Yeah.
Whereas it's raining.
I often think about you. It was probably 5 or 7 years ago. You're like, raining at 7, clear at 11.
And it is true. we put it this way. This year was a wet year, and we didn't have a day off.
Yeah.
So you just got to plan your sites. You just got to plan. You got to try and have something up your sleeve at all times. And
which you personally, that's fine because you can go design, do paperwork, whatever.
Yeah, but I don't want to send my guys to do something that they're sitting in there slopping in mud, because if they're slopping in mud, well, then one, it just stuffs up your soil structure, and then you have way more work to do to clean up. Yeah. So it's a case of you just got to be, we've done it long enough that we know that you can do this and you can do that and you can leave a couple of. But I didn't deliberately go and start a couple other jobs because we could have done that. But then the problem is you got 4 or 5 jobs open, and then you got to finish them anyway. So that it creates its own problems. So you just sort of slog it a bit. That's the hardest problem.
That obviously you're regularly booked up for long periods of time, I'm assuming. How do you handle runs into Christmas, and how have you handled it in the past? And if this Christmas was a normal Christmas, how would you be handling this year? Like, are you booking stuff less? Like, I've talked to a lot of landscapers about Christmas, and it seems like there's this kind of desire to not have the same Christmas we had last Christmas every year.
Well, I was fortunate enough last year, which was a bit of a pain, but we had a massive job deferred.
Yep. Because of COVID?
No, just because that building wasn't ready.
Yep.
So we were actually not chasing work, but we were just filling in little jobs, which was...
So it was a bit loose.
And so I knocked off for the first time in my career on the 20th of December.
Yeah. It's like,
and
going to KI.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Because normally, mate, I've had Christmases where I throw phones and chuck stuff.
I see it.
And it's but the thing is, then you knock off on the 23rd or the 24th, and you still
stops.
But you're still so strung up because it was so stressful to get it done. And then half the time you have to go back and fix stuff anyway, because you just do it just for the sake of keeping people happy.
Yeah, it's like...
And so last year was just amazing, and we'll be finishing on the 20th this year.
Yeah. Do you know what day the 20th is?
I think it's Friday.
Because it looked... I was looking at it... it's probably not the most appropriate time to be looking at it. But
you can look.
I remember I was talking to maybe our team. I was actually probably the MLSA board. I was talking about the dates and like how I was forecasting.
I'm interested. What is it now?
It's the 24th is the Friday. So
no, we'll be finishing probably.
That makes you the 17th if it's that Friday. So probably. I was kind of forecasting when people will finish up and almost saying like how I think that it'll be quite an interesting year because the Friday is the 24th.
I've done it where I've worked to then too.
You'll have a lot of businesses, especially off the back of a wet winter and COVID and a busy time. I can see a lot of people working till, say, the 23rd, and their staff are only having the 24th off. So it's interesting that you say that. And I guess maybe you set the tone and everyone else can kind of follow and everyone's staff can have some time off. Because
I'll be honest with you, like from doing it that one time last year, it's probably the first time I've really enjoyed Christmas with the family. If that makes sense.
Your kids are like, I mean, some of your kids are adults now.
No,
most people wouldn't. Are they all
3
adults?
of them? No,
most people wouldn't think it looking at this young face, but they're like, this is like the time you've been kind of like, I don't know. My kids are quite young. Christmas is vastly different, but like they're your friends now.
Oh yeah, like it's just, the thing is like Paddy's 22, Gracie's 20. Lils is 18 early next year. Yep. Charlotte's going to be 16.
So you had Paddy when you were 22 or 21?
23.
23, okay. My maths, that's right.
That's right.
Run a multi-million-dollar company. I can't do maths. So they're your friends now. They're
my mates. But I'm really lucky. I've got a great wife, and I've got my kids. I love them.
Yep.
But we're really close.
Yep.
And so Paddy's, he's been overseas for 3 years now. So, he was home for 12 weeks last year, which was great, and he's coming home again, which is great, and he's coming home good. So
that if you're happy to give a brief explanation of what he's doing at the moment? Because I think it's hilarious. If you're happy to talk about it.
Yeah. He's working on a big super yacht.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I don't know if I meant to say, but he's on the
You don't
super
have to
yacht
say
with
that.
the Strolls.
Yeah.
So the son drives Formula One cars. So
Yeah.
they've just been following the Formula One circuit around Europe.
Yeah.
So he's just it's on.
And these yachts are like,
it's 100.
you can land a helicopter on the fucking.
Well, like, there's footage there. He's been in the helicopters, flown around. It's full on. It's been
But
a
I'm
bit harder
guessing,
this
like
year.
anything, once
with
you've
COVID.
done it for a long enough time, it's just a job. Like the excitement, it can get taxing for
Oh,
it.
well, this year has been extremely hard, more so because of COVID. So they haven't been able to go out, whereas previously they could go out and party and hang out, and that would be fun. Like, he's only 20. Like, it's good.
As a kid,
And I always say they don't pull into shit ports. Like, they're pretty good places they go.
Yeah, that's right. Like, was it Morocco with the
Yeah.
Formula One? Like, they're just sitting outside.
Monaco, yeah.
Monaco?
Yeah.
I got no idea.
Yeah.
But this is a very good understanding of my, like, I only work.
Yeah,
I don't know where the Formula One cycles are on.
No, nor do I, but I just know where he is.
Oh, of course, your son. So Christmas, obviously your Christmas is going to be different, but Christmas, taking a much better attitude into Christmas, like, you'd recommend it to other landscapers? Like,
And
don't, because you know what's funny? Sorry to cut you off there. You put yourself at harm, like emotional or mental stress, to satisfy a client, right? Because I think we get caught up, like, as landscapers, you guys get caught up, like, you want to do the right thing, make sure your customer's happy, get the job done, and it's really only a small part of their life, but it's your whole life leading into that.
yeah, but that's, again, it comes down to wisdom or years in the trenches. You know what I
Saying
mean?
yes to the wrong things.
So the thing is you see, you say yes. So then the problem is if I say yes, I generally try and
Well, it's your
get it
integrity.
done.
Like you've said, you're going to
Yep.
do it. You have to do
So
it.
I don't like to disappoint, but it's also a case that there's no point doing it. And this is where what I've learned is because I've done stuff and we've done it the best we can and we think it's all right, but it's hard when you're under that much time pressure that things do go wrong and then you've got to go back and fix it. So it's a case of why put yourself under that stress to get it done and then it's not 100% correct. So that's probably another reason I don't do a lot with builders anymore. It's not that I don't like them. I love them. They do beautiful work, but it's a case of I have to work in with their time frame, and there's time constraints there that push you there as well.
I did have that listed as a question. If it felt like this natural progression for you was the Munns referrals, potentially slightly into builders, and then moving away from builders and basically being able to be your own independent entity. And it's not unfamiliar. Like I've seen it with a lot of your contemporaries. They worked for builders for a period, and it was good work, and it was like high spec and good access and good clients, but it just got fatiguing because of those demands or because of the time frames. You know,
and
the communication you have to kind of go through the builder.
Oh no, don't get me wrong, I love doing it, and you know I still enjoy it. I still work with a few builders now, but I don't. You know, everyone says you should have a certain percentage of work, but a lot of the time, a lot of our work was we were referred and we'd go in there and we'd be there from day one, which is a great way to do it. But then when you're locked into those sorts of time frames, it makes it difficult. Like I'm sort of looking at COVID now and I'm going, gee, I'm glad I'm not in that cycle where I was, because sometimes you'd tend to something and you'd be a year and a half, 2 years out.
Yeah, and then COVID pushed. I mean, I remember.
But not only that, the prices have gone up substantially on a lot of things.
Your costs.
Yeah, our costs for concrete and all that sort of stuff has gone through the roof. So
so you priced the builder a year before the job.
Sometimes you're in the tender package. So you know, and then you got to try and not argue, but you got to try and
Justify.
But it doesn't always, they don't always accept it.
Well, they don't care.
And so you got that, and then you got pressure, and then builders can't get materials sometimes at points, so there's delays. And I'm going, man, I'm really happy I'm not big, and I'm really happy that where we're at because we can manage ourselves out. But
you kind of had from what I've seen from the outside, a very good sized business to handle COVID disruption.
Yeah, it's been like I'm really glad that where we're at.
Like if you were a 20-person business like you were once.
Oh mate, it'd be a wreck.
Yeah, it would be a stressful couple of years.
But I went into last year. I did get a little bit stressed last year with COVID, but I sort of sat down over Christmas and just sort of went with the attitude that I don't want to do that. Yeah. So I've sort of been pretty. I think I've had a pretty, not relaxed, but I've went into I've learnt a lot this year. I've done a lot of podcasts.
As in listening to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah,
This is your first podcast.
Yeah, I know, but I've listened to a lot. And I only just started listening. Basically, really started listening to them last lockdown, and it's been really, really good. It's taught me a lot of things I've done wrong, but it's also it really enthused me a bit. Yeah, you know.
Rob rang me. Well, you might have messaged me about like what
text you.
What's good?
What's your yeah?
He watched some Gary V or listened to some Gary V, and he rang me. He's like, I think I'm understanding.
I know
why you're doing acting like the way you act, or like there's this kind of like.
I know why you like Gary V.
It's like very much resonates. That takes me over to. Do you remember when we met?
Yeah, I was back in my ute into Stepney, and there's this bloke come running down, knocking on my window.
So Rob moved into
two doors
down. So there was your building, crazy crack den, and then our building. I don't know what they did.
There's
in
a
that
bobcat
building.
in between us.
No, but then there was that red brick building.
Yeah.
I don't know what that lady. It was like hippies or I don't know whatever.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my god, because it was such early stage for Fluid Designs at the time. I think it was. So Fluid Designs was only 2 years.
Yeah.
I think we were still Fluid Designs then. And I was like, that's Distinctive Gardens. And it just felt so like the world was just working for me because I'm like, you can't not buy from us now. Your depot's
not working that well.
Your depot's
You'd never rang me before.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
and where I was buying, which names won't be mentioned, but
various irrigation suppliers.
I'm pretty loyal when it comes to what and where I buy. I think they used to you'd get a price and then it'd increase and you'd ring them and they say, oh sorry, we won't, and it does it again. And I think it was right at that time as well.
I got you. Yeah.
And it was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
And I had enough. And so I think I've bought everything from you since.
100%. And it's interesting that you say that because I know that from a landscape supply standpoint, you've been dealing with the same people for as long 20 years.
Yeah.
Like the loyalty, you're right. Like the loyalty, like it's not about, and I love that.
But if you get burnt, it's like, I just don't ring them.
No. And that's a big thing. I think that you'll see that there's people that are just cheapest price and it doesn't matter. Even if you get burnt, that's cheapest price. Then there's people that are like, they want relationships, and the longer that relationship goes for, the higher the penalty for burning them is. Like, because if we shit on you now, you're like, what the fuck? Like, 12 years of like, or 10 years of loyal, you do that? Like, and so you can see it's a dangerous place to be when a shop like ours can get complacent with the loyalty of a loyal customer, even if it's accidental. Like, because a lot of times I think businesses spend more time chasing new business than they do protecting their existing business. So
and this will sound dumb, and I'm not into dishing people, but I used to always buy my power tools at Adelaide Tools. Yeah. But then Bunnings bought them.
Yep.
And fair enough. I'd rather support someone local. And, yeah. So then I went to Total Tools, and which they've served me really well. And then I bought these two drills from 2 months ago, I reckon. And I said, this is what I want to do. I want to use, I'm going to say it, Bosch.
Yep.
Because I personally have used Bosch for the last 6 years and they've done me really well. And the other boys use Makita and it's just easy to have tools. So I bought these two drills and they both broke on my first formwork job.
Yep.
And I took them back and they said, yeah, okay, we'll get them fixed for you. And I said, yeah, but look, they broke on the first one. I don't really want them back. Yeah. And they go, yeah. So I got them back and they're both broken again. And I went there and went back to them and said, hey, I'm pretty pissed.
This is starting to cost time now.
Yeah, it's more of a case of I don't give a shit about it. We'll send them in and get them fixed again. I said, I don't want you to send them in and get them fixed. Yeah. I just don't want them. Yeah. So all I'm saying to you is I'd love it if you could give me my money back, or I just won't buy tools from you again. Yeah. And I haven't heard from them since.
It's so bad. Like, and it's EQ, right? Like, so it's hard for a business of that size to be able to. We talked about this at the start. Like, you need to take what the owner's beliefs and desires are and put them through all the staff. But there should be someone at the front counter that has enough emotional intelligence or enough rules to go, this guy's really not going to buy from us again. He's a tradesperson. He buys lots of tools. Let's do something about it.
Because I had a heap of tools stolen last year, I reckon. Like heaps. So I reckon I bought like 20 grand's worth of tools probably.
Plus the future.
And it's a case of, and I know I'm not big, but it's a case of... Matter. Yeah, but like it was just frustrating. You know, look, and I really would like just to go and talk to the manager and just say, hey, this is what's happening. I'm still not going to go buy there again.
I'll get Duffy to send them a clip.
No. doesn't matter. I'm over it. I just won't buy anything there again because no one rang me. That's all.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
So after we met, obviously Rob and I started hanging out more, and Rob bought me a book called Built to Sell, right? So I don't know if I've talked about this publicly before, but
I did hear it in one podcast somewhere once.
So that's the book that got me on the journey of self-development in the business space. And it's ironic and hilarious that 8 years later, you're like, hey, dude, what podcast should I be listening to? I'm like, dude, you gave me the first book. Yeah. You should, if you'd followed that. I mean, and I think you've probably listened to a bunch of books along the way on Audible. And
I've never listened to a book on Audible.
Really?
I love to read them.
Yeah, so you're hard copy, okay.
Yeah, I read Built to Sell again last week.
It's such a good book.
My design philosophies run with that.
The 5-step.
But mine's only 3.
The pencil, then. Yep. It's talk on that because I had my question was around. I did have a question around like, what's your design process look like? Mm-hmm. Like, talk to me that.
So obviously, I've had designers that work for me over the years, and it's been great. It's really good to have that. But I've always been a hand drawer.
Yep.
So I love to go and see a client and visualize what we can do and do that. So that's. I don't charge consult fees. Yep. I just find it. I'd rather them want to work with me.
Yeah. So that's almost like a first date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's either you like me.
No
it's either they like me or I like them, and we're happy to work together.
Yep.
And then from that, I will send an image board and a proposal.
Yep.
And then basically I'll go back to site if I need to measure or something like that. And I hand draw the first process, but I'll hand draw it. It'll be all just pen and pencil. I won't nail the plants down. I'll know what I want to put in there.
Yeah.
But it's a case of I won't name them. I won't do anything. But I want the shapes. So like in Built to Sell, it's a black and white pencil.
Yeah, because otherwise,
because they focus on what plants that, and at that point, I don't think that they need to be. My opinion is 100% where I'm at. Yep. They shouldn't be focusing on that.
It doesn't matter at that point.
It doesn't matter because you want to make sure that the space is functional and it works for them, and that the layout works. And if you don't have that stuff in there, they actually focus on that.
Yep.
Yeah. So then you talk about the plants, but I'll have plants drawn in there, but they won't be not properly.
Yeah.
But then we'll talk, and then they'll go, well, what were you thinking about that? And then you'll go and talk to them about the plants then. And then you'll explain it, and you can scribble on the plans, and then they go, yeah, that's great. But see, the beauty of that is I'd rather have 3 meetings than draw too much.
Yep.
So for me is I'll go into the first meeting with a layout, and we might change some layout a little bit, but generally we don't have to.
Yeah, so you're getting
we'll already talk planning plan. So then after that, I can go back with the second meeting. We've basically nailed down what the design is already without a lot, not a lot of effort. A lot of thought would have gone into it, but it's an easy process.
Yeah, you haven't wasted time rehashing stuff. Like you've kind of got your scope and your spec right first, and then
and I get better shapes. Like in saying that, I send off my drawings now to do CAD because I've got the system. I don't like it.
The depth of skill on CAD.
I don't like it.
Well, that's a full-time job.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not as good as most people.
Yep.
I can use it. I can make it look good, but I don't get the right shape, or I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
But it's not where my time's valuable.
I was told, I don't know how long ago, it probably might have even been you, but it was recommended at design school to always hand draw first. I think Martin Elton might have said this, like always hand draw first because that's what they get taught. Obviously, you wouldn't know that because you didn't go to the school.
Self-taught school of Rob Cooper.
Well, it sounds like you've gone around the right process. That if you draw it by hand, you'll draw it exactly how you want it to look. Whereas sometimes if you go straight to a computer, your lack of ability on a software platform might
potentially
push you in a direction that's easier for you.
Yeah,
but it's not what should be done.
Yeah, but
because you can't
100%.
Like,
so I get the shapes, and some people don't believe that, and that I don't care.
Fucking, I remember Jacko, his shapes.
Yeah.
You've seen his design work?
Yeah.
He has the most unique design style. Like he has a definite design style. And I have got a question here for you to tell me about your style, but I can walk into a Paul Jackson garden and just be like, and the plant selection's usually white.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he's just nuts.
Yeah, but that's what I love about having him work for us is because I don't have, I've got a good plant base, but his is just amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of having that in your business, but it's good to teach you guys. I learn.
Yeah.
It's good for the client.
Have you been to his house? His front yard? It's like, you just don't. I don't know. You just don't see people use plants like that.
No.
Like, you know, and when you meet plant people, like him,
Yeah.
and you're probably a hybrid, if that's
Yeah.
fair.
Oh, yeah, no. Look, I know what I love and
Yeah.
I love... But it's a case of, I'm not... I don't have super duper, I have some really different trees in my paddock, but, around my house I have what I like, and, you can see probably the years of when I've done it, maybe.
You've got style you move. Yeah, so
but not necessarily.
So your style would have changed over the years?
Yeah.
And what do you think? What would you describe your style as now?
I've actually been thinking about this a little bit lately, and not because I was coming on here, but just in general, and more so from listening to podcasts to why I differentiate a bit from other people. And I describe myself as I'm a plant-based landscape. So I focus on the softscapes more than the hardscapes.
Which sounds really odd to me, considering how much concrete and stone and that exists.
You look at how soft and clean and green our gardens are. So if you maybe look at my Instagram now and you have a look at that, I don't see some people hero out the hardscape. I don't.
Yeah.
And I think that makes my gardens different, and it makes why we're a different company.
The reason that I'm not shocked, but that's like, because you look at Medindie, that the amount of like intense cement work that's in there, people could be forgiven for going, no, like they're definitely like hardscape, but that makes sense. Like,
but I'll use hardscape where I need to use hardscape.
Yeah.
But you got to remember that a lot of that hardscape I didn't do.
Yeah.
That was already pre-designed.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at the scale of the whole project, you needed to have that much.
Well, there's a lot
hardscape.
of green.
But I also did take out some hardscape in it.
I'm interested in your use of water features is probably something that differentiates you from a lot of people in South Australia, for the simplistic and classy water feature design. Mm-hmm. Do you try to get water features into jobs, or people like you? If it's the right space, you go, "Oh, this is probably not a bad place to put something."
Yeah, I'll only put it in if I think it will work.
Yep.
Some clients want one, and that's fine, and we'll work with it. But I just enjoy the challenge of them and the noise it makes, and they're technical, and so that's a good technical challenge. But see, to me is I love the technicality of that, and if you probably look at some of our for example, is the Medindie job, the dovetailing we did on the water feature and stuff like that. So I focus. So our hardscapes are technical and they're very detailed, and some people see it, some people they don't. But that's just what I like to do. But you won't see the same water feature on any of our jobs.
No. Well, you've got. I mean, that Medindie had 2 water features, didn't it?
Yeah.
I've just quickly texting my wife. I reckon I left the hose on in the pool.
So you've got a water feature too.
I'm talking at 7 o'clock this morning.
Oh shit.
When you were talking, it made me think of that noise. Like this morning, it was a beautiful morning. I went outside and the pool was, a bit off the code. We don't have an auto filler because I don't know. So I'm filling up the pool. No, we do have an auto filler, and I can just never get it to work. So I'm filling up the pool, and it was just that noise, that gentle, like just a hose into a pool, and the birds tweeting, and like it just felt springy a bit this morning, even though it's not
it was
a deep spring
morning,
day.
But it's
it was
that noise is and this will sound silly, but through Medindie and Gilbert and all those areas, like it is noisy.
Yeah,
like there's not as many planes now, but you know what I mean. Like in the traffic and stuff, they just drone a bit of that noise out. So I enjoy it.
Really hope I turned that off. And what percent you'd be putting water features in? What, 80% of your jobs? Not even. It's not that.
Not always. Like, maybe
Just
50.
Right.
I saw a client on Friday night and they want one, but I'm not. I don't just go and put one in for the sake of putting one.
Well, because I remember like probably 2000 to 2005, those slate wall, like they were everywhere. Yeah, that stack stone, it was just everywhere.
I hate it.
I think it didn't even feel right then.
No,
you know what I mean?
I've never loved it.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I probably have put a little bit up.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Over the early 2000s?
Nah, not much.
Yeah.
I can only think of 2 jobs maybe.
Yeah.
I don't love it. And see, I like to use natural materials. So, I won't use porcelain. I've done one job with porcelain tiles and never will use them again.
Yeah.
And I'm happy not to do the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably same with boral pavers. I don't use them, but
you should buy lots of boral pavers from me.
I know, but you know what I'm saying. I don't. It's not me.
It's not the style of work you do. I get it. Like, it's porcelain was put on the table when my house was done, and it just didn't feel right. Like it's not natural stone. Like, and if you're kind of in the same space anyway, the price.
I put it with stacked stone.
Yeah, it's just a bit manufactured.
Yeah.
So you're obviously listening to a lot more podcasts now. What's jumping out at you? Like, have you found a podcast that's kind of niche to you? Or you
the one you recommend? I reckon I've listened to it heaps.
To Alex?
No.
How I Built This. That's a wicked podcast.
Love it.
Yeah, yep. You know the one. It's called How I Built This. So this guy Raz, interviews people like the founders of Twitter or Airbnb or Instagram, Zillow.
Instagram just grew you get on the journey with them and
and it's really well produced as well.
They've done a lot of research behind it. Yep. So it's really nice that you hear the wins and the losses, and obviously everyone has those over the years. But it's probably one thing I really have missed not having a business coach is at that just that commonality with people, if that makes sense, because you and I speak a lot.
So you've had two business coaches, or two coaches over the years I've known you. One we shared. Yep. Obviously, we both had Starry for.
And I had the landscape coach.
That's what I mean. So he was the second one.
Yep.
I think a lot more about coaching now than I have in the last 5 years. I think I felt like I knew it all at the point where we left working with Hood Sweeney's coaching division.
Yep.
And I was fine on my own. And now I feel like I'm about to enter into a stage where I probably need mentorship or coaching in some capacity to go to the next level.
Yeah, and see, that's why you and I talk a lot, I think, and we don't talk nitty gritty day to day. We just, I enjoy that as our relationship. Because I've got other people to talk, but you and I speak. We know where we're at with it all.
You don't have to reset the context. I think a lot of times it's
we just pick up from where we left, and we might do it for a month. We might do it. You know what I mean? And it's it's good.
So not having a coach, you kind of look to peers to talk to other business owners.
But I've probably missed it as well because you do get a little bit lost in your day to day and stuff like that.
Yep. I think I've been really cynical publicly and privately about the coaching space and the paid. I hate paying for accounting and lawyers and coaches, and I'm like. I'm sure I should know this, but the reality is the best of the best in any chosen field, be it sport or business, generally have a coach.
Yeah.
Because even though the coach may not be better than them at their chosen thing, like you could have a landscape person who's good at running a business come and coach you about your business. Doesn't mean they're a better landscaper than you.
Yeah.
It just means that they're going to identify the problems that you're not seeing in how you're operating and help you get to where you feel like you want to be.
Yeah.
Which is what John, that podcast with John, I didn't have a lot of context for John. Like I knew that he'd helped a lot of people here.
Yep.
And I kind of almost found a lot of people that were like, I worked with him. I don't know why I stopped, but I probably should be doing it still. Like I'm getting that from guys that after the podcast. But he knew his shit.
You should get his newsletter. His newsletters are really good.
Okay.
I read them every month.
Well, I probably do get it. I don't even read my emails. So.
He always comes in my junk mail, but it's awesome. I really enjoy it. He puts a lot.
You've got to whitelist his email address. You wouldn't even know how to do that. On that, what software are you using? Like, I know you had Benchmark.
Yeah, I went on Benchmark.
Are you using it?
At the moment, I'm just using Build Exact.
Yep.
I find it easy. I'm not saying I love it, but it's okay.
Yep.
I probably am in the market maybe to find something.
Yep.
I'm going to write one day. I reckon. Yep. There's got to be a perfect landscape package because there's not.
Yeah, I know. I mean, most of the guys, I don't know many that are running Excel and just doing that.
Sometimes I reckon it's just as easy.
You guys all know your square meter rates. You know you.
I don't work on square. I don't like.
You can't because it's too boutique.
It causes issues.
Yeah. So you just cost it. You'll go. That's the cost of the materials. It'll take us 4 days. That's my day rate per guy. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then put a margin.
Yep.
And then if you think it's.
And then you look at it and go,
shit. Better trim that a little bit.
Or have another half a glass of red wine and just press send.
Yeah, I don't drink anymore.
I've heard some...
They're either really high
or they're really low.
And it's like...
I've heard some great stories about people...
I sent a tender out that night after we went to that GWS game, that morning.
I have no memory of this.
And that Tuesday...
was that a corporate box?
Yeah.
No.
It was at the Premier's president.
Yeah.
I sent a tender out before I went to work there, and I didn't get home until 4.
Yeah, I would have been home much earlier. Rob probably stayed out on his own. You didn't hear from that one? What was that, like a shopping centre or something?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Or a school?
I don't even remember what it was. Anyway.
Far out. So outside of that, like the coach, like you think you'd have coach, like if it all worked out right, you'd be open to having a coach in your business again tomorrow. Yeah, I think it makes sense. Like, I'm guessing like all business owners, you've got a list of things that you think you could probably do better or differently that would make life better or different.
It's more that, it may not be it might be a life coach.
Yep.
It may not be a business coach.
Yep.
But it's like my wife gets sick of talking to me about business, and I don't want to have a relationship with her talking about business.
You need to start a podcast.
Yeah,
you just start talking about business. Someone will listen.
Yeah,
I've got 1 or 2 fans, I think.
Yeah,
one or two.
I don't mind. Look, I enjoy it. I just don't. It's nice to have someone to talk to that's what they do. Or, like
there's almost, and I know that like it's. I hate the networking club bullshit, like they come and hand business cards out and try and get them to do your business cards or whatever. But there almost needs to be like a club and there probably is. We probably just don't know about it. Like a business owner, it's like a golf club. That's where the business owners sit and talk about business or whatever. Like,
yeah.
And I know Hood Sweeney had that business club. Like Starry had that. Like, they'd do those 1 day sessions where you sit.
That's what I miss the most about that is that
you could probably still go do them without doing the other stuff.
Yeah, but it's a case of, like you just said, I think that you like as in, like I got something coming up, I've got to have some time off coming up, so I rang Justin and just went and had a
to have that network.
It's just more like we did that dinner that time, and it's just great. Because
honestly, we had pre-planned to have another dinner because I like doing that. I think it's good. It's interesting. I spoke to a commercial landscaper yesterday. And he mentioned that he's trying to actively have better relationships with everyone in the industry. And I was like, I fucking hate my competitors. Like, I fucking hate them. I want them all to suffer badly. And he's like, yeah, well, that's you. But like, I don't. Like, I think that there's that, ability for us to have cordial, these aren't his words, these are mine, non-collusive, relationship where we can share ideas, and that's what the Master Landscapers is working towards.
Yeah, see, I'm not a hey, rock up to every cat and dog function because it's just not me.
You want specialist boutique people with like-minded ideas, people on your level.
And not maybe, but I love listening to people that I have grown up and idolised or different designers. It's not that young landscapers.
No. They bring their own element of things you can learn from them.
But it's a case of for me is it's just nice. Like, see, I don't, and this is going to sound, hope it doesn't sound wrong. Is I don't quote a lot against a lot of other companies.
Yeah.
So I like.
Yeah, you've been invited to give them.
But I also like it that's how my business is.
Yep.
So I don't have a. Oh shit! This bloke took my job.
No.
Oh shit! This bloke
because you either got it or you didn't.
Yeah. So it's usually me losing it.
Then someone else winning it off of you.
Yeah. So for me is, I don't have a relationship with a lot of people in the industry, but it's not that I don't want to. I just don't. I feel I do my best work when I'm not thinking about what anyone else in Adelaide's doing.
We've had a few situations recently that have come up, and obviously I'm pretty public about any business wars that I'm going through. But as I've aged, I think I've softened and I've become a little bit less concerned about what other people are doing. And
I did say that in another phone conversation as well, I reckon.
Well, yeah, I think you become more comfortable with what you've got and less concerned about what other people are doing. And if you look at anything around, meditation or religion that's quite peaceful and, like Hindi and Buddhism and, as soon as you can start to be less, like just genuinely not concerned and genuinely not jealous and genuinely not vengeful and genuinely not judgmental of other people, you get to a really, really peaceful place.
So I feel I'm nearly there now.
Yeah.
Whereas I had, obviously, we had a bit of stuff go on a few years ago and we've had a bit of a staff turnover and, not all of those went really well.
Yeah.
But it's a case of I didn't say anything within that. But I'm also really proud of the people that have worked for me and where they're at in the industry.
Yep.
I remember back in the day when I I was at Relney.
Yep.
Some of the people that came out of that when we were there, they all run a really big business now.
We reflected on it the other day, like the guys like Disco and Dave and
Disco,
like,
Dave, Andy, Brian, Ronnie,
like they all went on to grow
Patrick
substantial
Ferrier,
businesses.
and it's a case of we were all forming at the same time at the same company. So I look at, obviously I still think we potentially we do train well, and but I also look at it, but in a mindset, I feel better now in the last 6 months where I'm at, because I feel like I'm more not in control, but I feel better, and we're teaching more, and I did my things wrong in that, but I'm also really proud to see where people are, because we got people within lots of different other landscape companies working there, and I think it's great. Like, and it's really nice to see them getting there and running their own businesses and stuff like that. I think it's I do take.
Well, it doesn't take anything from you, right?
Well,
like, and there would have been times where if it was me, I would have been like, them going and doing that's taking from me.
Yeah, well,
when the reality is,
what I'm
not.
saying is at a time there, I probably did think that, and then you're sort of a bit spiteful and you're a bit.
Yeah.
But it's a case of, what though, and this is what the podcast have almost taught me is I was in control of all of that, and I didn't do not the right thing, but I didn't change in that environment. So it's a case of, So now I feel that,
doing nothing's almost the same as doing the wrong thing, kind of thing. Like,
So for me, is if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're the adult in this situation. You're the boss.
I had control over all of it, and I didn't do anything about it. So therefore, I'm totally responsible. So I don't have any spite on it now, because what's the point? Is if I wanted to change something, I should have changed it.
Well, you can change it, You've won a few awards.
Yep.
In landscape and landscape design. What does that mean to you? Like, I guess, from me, I look at it and go, it's the only real way of measuring yourself. Like, if you've got a sporting or a competitive bone in your body.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to you to win those awards?
They're always great to have a recognition of what you've done. Do you know what I mean? It means you sort of must be on the right track, or you must have some pretty good ideas. We were lucky enough to win a few when I had a designer working for me.
Yep.
Which is great, because it's still your team, and we've won some like construction and design awards.
Yep.
So that was always
obviously both. I mean, when you've got a team, the business wins, the team's.
Yeah, so that was really nice.
What do you call it? Like, the team's acknowledged for their work.
Yeah. So that was good. I think that the one at Medindie was really special to me, though.
Yep. Is that last year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that was my first like design and construct.
Yep.
Like, as in, I designed all of it, and my team, like, personally.
Yep.
So that was really rewarding, that one.
Yep.
Because it was that I've been a designer.
Yeah, start to finish, and you've been.
So it was really nice. So that was nice, and then to win the Judges Award was just super good, because it was a pretty good three categories to win. So,
yeah, no shit. When you look at it like that,
it was best. Best in the. So that was really rewarding. That was just nice.
Yep. Do you think about the awards when you're building?
No, never.
It's like you just build the best version of the garden you can, and then you'll decide whether or not you want to enter it in an award.
Yeah.
And what does that process look like? Do you communicate with the client and go, look, we want to put it in the awards. Are you comfortable with us doing it?
Yeah, at the end I do. Yeah.
And
I never talk about it.
No. Do they usually always say yes? Have you had people say no?
I wouldn't ask them if I thought they would say no.
You've got a good enough relationship. Yeah. That's like the perfect. That's what the best salespeople in the world don't ask for the sale until they know the client's going to say yes. Yeah. That's a sales training thing. So that makes sense. Yeah. Like, it's stuff you and I wouldn't. Yeah. We don't know, because we just do our normal shit.
Yeah.
But as I've listened to more literature around sales, like, you don't ask until you know the answer's going to be yes.
Well, there's no point, because then
Well, the no's the no. Then you're trying to convert a no to a yes.
Yeah. So no, look, no, you never design them.
Yeah.
For that.
Is that you?
That's not me.
I'm sure I had a thing in here about, like, do not have your phone on while you're in a podcast.
That's right. I just turned mine off.
I'm sure it was on silent. Oh, I'm such a loser. It is on silent. What'd you do, Duffy? You've been messing with my phone? So you'll continue to enter awards as they come up?
Yeah, well, I was going to do a couple this year. I had a couple in line.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's awkward.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like
It's a shitty situation.
it's fine. Like it is what it is, and it's probably tough for the master landscapers to be able to do that. But it's also, I do think it'd be pretty hollow if there's only like 4 blokes that put awards.
There's probably 3 or 4 key reasons why the awards had to get postponed or cancelled, and one was that there wasn't enough entrants, and 2 was the amount of ticket sales as well that would be tied to the entrance. So there's a commercial viability side to it as well. But you don't want to win. I mean, Jacko, who's won an award, and he won't mind me talking about it because he joked about it as well, but he won an award when he was the only person in the category.
Yeah.
And he said, I think he did a funny speech, like, the other guy was a dickhead. Because I think it was him versus him.
Yeah.
But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that winning an award when you're up against the best of the best, that tastes different to just getting acknowledged for a good job.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing is no, it's nice.
I want to see you guys, all of you guys, like at your top of your game next year with all your jobs against each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like 5 or 6 of you going at it.
You never look. I hate losing. Like
you're preaching, mate.
Like I hate but I don't care if I lose to someone that's done something better than me.
Yeah.
I'll be pissed off and it'll just give me a bit of burn. But
that's fire. That's good.
But
like,
yeah.
And I think there's like the bitter makes the sweet sweeter.
Yes.
Losing, and I had this conversation with Jack because they lost the basketball. Jack's 8, and they lost a basketball game the other day, and I'm like, that's good.
I reckon you learn more losing than you do winning.
100%, man. About yourself, your team. Mm-hmm. You start to see the true colours of the kids. We had kids walking out of the stadium. Yeah. They wouldn't shake hands. I'm like, that's not what we do. Like, it's not. Yeah. And I'm probably the worst for. I'll walk out of the stadium. I'll set fire to the stadium so no one else can play anymore. But I'm maturing. So look, you're obviously still quite young. I mean, how long are you going to work? Are you going to work? Like, do you think you'll transition into design only and just kind of be like a chill artistic director?
I don't know. As in...
That was almost a dig at Josh. That wasn't meant to be a dig at Josh. Creative director.
No, well, obviously, I've got a bit of time off coming up.
Yeah, do you want to, explain that? You've mentioned that a couple of times.
Oh, yeah, but... Yeah. No, I've just got to have an operation. I've got a small tumour, or reasonable sized tumour in my brain.
Between here and here?
Nah, it's basically back in behind my eyes.
Yep. So is that your frontal lobe? Or you haven't asked too many questions?
I don't know.
It's there.
It's back in behind, and they got to basically open up my skull and get in there, and it's about 8 hours on a chair. So, yeah, I'll be out for a while. So 6 weeks I recover. Yeah.
Wow.
So for me is... to put things in perspective, I'm happy where I'm at, but I think I'll probably be different at the other side of it.
I think...
I've been wanting to be different for the last couple of years as well.
Yeah.
So for me is that's where I'm comfortable, where our business is at, like me being able to design and construct, but I will, and I do enjoy that, yeah.
Because if this situation had happened when you had 20 staff, there's a dramatically different conversation. Hey, like for you to take yourself off.
If I didn't have Paul now, I would be a lot more stressed.
Yeah.
Knowing Paul can help.
He can do it all.
Yeah.
But yeah. And on his best day.
And the guys with him,
Yeah.
And that's no reflection against the other guys.
No.
But I know that they wouldn't have been able to do it.
I guess there's been guys that you've had throughout the years that could have done it. Like, it's just, there's people that can and there's people that can't.
So I'm comfortable on that. And there's no point worrying, when it gets a little bit, it's in a couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, what have you got? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? What will be, I guess. From a work standpoint, like you can't. All you can do is set these guys up for the best version of.
Yeah. So it's a case of look on the other side. Look, I'll still like to keep designing, absolutely, and I do love being able to build it, but we just won't. It's whether we get some guys to do some subcontracting out. I don't know.
As in, after obviously the surgery is successful, you can come out the other side.
Yeah, I'm planning it's going to be successful. I'm not planning it's not.
No.
No.
Yeah. And then so you come out the other side. Obviously, Germany in March.
Oh, maybe. We're not sure. Maybe, but yeah.
That'll be as much on general travel than you travel, won't it? Like it'll be whether or not you can even go to Germany in March or get back into Australia.
I know we'll be able to go.
I reckon by March.
Yeah.
I'm
reckon you can do
I'm telling everyone that.
Yeah, no.
I'm hoping if I tell enough people, it'll happen.
No, it'll be essential services.
Yeah.
No.
You're going to build an art in the art gallery and come home. It's essential.
Well,
you know what's funny?
Paddy was allowed to fly out because he was essential service to work on a super yacht.
Well, yeah, someone has to hand out the caviar, otherwise caviar doesn't get handed out. Yeah. Very briefly, what is you find out about this, having to have this operation? Where do your thoughts go? Like straight away to family and then work?
It was pretty roller coaster.
Yeah. So I remember I saw you. I think you were trying to talk to me for the first couple of days, and I was like, "I'm not available. I'm not available." And you're like, "I need to see you, man."
Yeah. Oh, look, it went from within a week from I had a little puffy eye.
Yep.
To visiting a neurosurgeon, and
Yep.
So that was a roller coaster. So
what kind of symptoms if anyone have you learned anything from that? Like at this stuff?
but if you go back and think about it, there's a few things that probably added up.
Yeah.
But, like you saw me just look up before, but you never do that.
No, because we're men and we don't need to go to the doctor.
No. I mean, there's not often you put your eyes down and look up.
And they don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then I just move my head, and I get a bit of blurred vision. Well, that's just stress. You don't
stress,
know.
tiredness, overwork, whatever.
I haven't drank enough water today.
Yeah.
But then now you're going at it all together, and I look at a computer screen, and my eyes hurt.
Yeah.
Like big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think sometimes you can be guilty of just going.
And I get
maybe I just need glasses.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting old. I need glasses. And then that eye feels. But now it's like shit. And I've obviously been worked all my life. My back is pretty tight, so I get headaches, and I just figured that's just a muscular thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was nothing there that stood out except for that eye being a little bit puffy.
Yeah. And then I think after you said to me that after you kind of worked out what was going on, people were like, I did look different. Like it does look different.
It's got progressively
Well, thanks for
worse.
the heads up, guys.
Yeah. But, so I don't know. So that was a roller coaster. So, you obviously...
But you go into planning, like automatic. I'm guessing your personality goes into like, this
Absolutely.
is the stuff that needs to happen.
Yeah. So it was like, it was... Okay, we understand that. I did see when I saw got the CT scan, they basically came straight out and said, hey, keep your phone on you might have to come in tonight.
Wow.
And that was like, I didn't tell Cass that at the time. Because I didn't...
She didn't find it weird that your phone was next to the bed for the first time in the last 20 years.
I had it there and I got home and no one rang me, so I just left it down the cupboard anyway. But no, so that was like a bit daunting. Like it was, I think it went from almost they thought it might have been, maybe this doctor thought it might have been a little stroke because my eye was a bit puffy. I don't know. To then that, and then so I've tried to be, and I have the whole time. I'm confident. I've got to be positive about it.
Well, you're in the best hands. I mean, top quality surgeons in Australia.
Well, I walked in there and I was automatic, like because it's how quick it was. You'd sort of going shit.
Yeah.
And then I walked out of there, and as soon as he started talking, I was more relaxed and calm.
Yeah.
And I basically said to him, I said, man, and he asked, Cass was worried, which is fair enough, but I just don't think there's any point worrying because I'll either lose eyesight or...
Well, you said to me something interesting, like I expect my clients to trust me with their gardens, so I can't...
I told him that.
Yeah. So you trust him.
I've got to put my hands in his because he's studied for years and done everything, and if I don't, well then...
Yep.
The option is not to have it, and then I just lose the sight of my eye. So, it'll just close.
So the option for you just to keep this thing growing in your head and...
Potentially, but I don't know. I didn't even leave it as an option.
No, that doesn't sound like something I'd be...
Because I don't know what happens afterwards, because it's near arteries and my eye doesn't move because of nerves. And, it's all sorts. So,
All right, so you come out of that. How do you see the world differently now than you did before you knew about this?
I don't see it much different than... Like I said, I've actually been in a pretty good spot for the last little while.
Yeah, so you're happy with the amount of time you're spending with your family and the travel that you're doing and the work that you're doing and the quality of the work you're doing.
I won't work as many hours as I did.
Yeah?
Yeah, nowhere near.
Because that's interesting, right? Because I work a lot, right? And you do too. And you always have.
But I look at it now and go, why?
What was it for?
Yeah.
And because there's only a few things that it's for. It's either for glory or for money.
It's more for my family.
Or to win.
Obviously, I like to think that I've got a pretty good
There's-
name.
like,
so
I have
you do
ego
work
attached
hard
to that.
I've
I think
I've got an ego
yeah.
with that, but ultimately it's all for my family.
But the ego's, I don't think the ego's attached to the hours I work. It's to the result that I'm trying to achieve, which happens to be connected to working more hours.
oh shit, yeah,
Like, that's just the way it works. And you talked about it, like the extra 1 or 2 or 3% that you put in
yeah,
gets you there.
But when I don't do it, you see how your business functions.
Yeah. And really, if you hadn't worked as hard, would it be much different? Do you know what I mean?
What I'm thinking about it now is I probably have done a lot of stuff that I don't need to do, and I've got to trust my guys more, and I've got to make sure that I do the best I can do, and that's what I'm saying. I use Vectorworks a bit because I use it to do takeoffs and stuff like that, but I won't draw a plan again on Vectorworks
Because you just don't need to.
I just don't like it.
If it was purely about money, you could have ran the size crew you run now, and you would have been no worse off than running a 20-person business, I'm guessing.
I'd be better off.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see that a lot, and I think it's probably worth touching on for business owners that are like, I'm going to be massive.
But it's not. And I'm not saying anything about any of my business coach because I agreed to it. But it was always the next steps to get bigger, next steps to be. But I never sort of wanted. I never sort of.
So there was never a conversation.
I never actively chose to go bigger.
So there was never a conversation. And look, it's funny because I am actively trying to grow bigger, and I don't really know why. It's just because I've said I want to, and I just want to see if I can grow $100 million company. But I think that's probably something that's really important for young business owners to think about. Like, really, like, what is the end goal with this? Like, because is it just having a nice, comfortable life for you and your family, and being able that your kids can go to a good school and you never have to want for anything, and you own your house?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go mental like me and have $100 million company, or somewhere in between?
And so probably that's where, when you start looking at what other people do, that's where
you're looking over the fence too much.
Probably lost a bit of, and then chased it.
Because you know what's crazy? You don't know what's going on inside their walls. You're looking over the fence.
But
you don't know.
I look at it now and go, geez.
Yeah.
But you know what? Kudos to people that want to do it. Like, I've got no problems with it. And
I don't think it matters what you do, as long as you're honest with yourself and it's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Not to kind of tick some societal box, or to appease your friends and try to compete with them, or to be better than them, or like...
Yeah. So and that's why I like the sizes. That's when we made our most money in our business, is when we were about the size we are now.
Yeah. I remember, man. I remember, like, Rob and I have this, I don't know, Christmas...
Back of the ute.
It would just be... It was accidental. Rob would pull up out the back, and it would be close to Christmas Day, and we'd have a beer and just lean on the ute and talk about how next year is not going to be as fucked as this year, and these are the things we're going to do differently. And then we'd have the same conversation the next year and the next year.
Deeper and deeper each year. But,
okay. It sounds like you're in a really good space.
Well, I've got to be as well. You know, I'm not going into this without it. You know, but I have said it for years. I said if I wasn't an extreme optimist, I'd be manic depressant. So, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I'd rather be positive, and, you know, anything can be done.
Yeah.
Because then, same with the quotes. If I haven't done something like the client wants to do, but you just got to be confident and you work out how to do it.
Yeah.
You got to fail to get there somehow.
I'll finish up with this question. I ask a lot of people this. If you could do any other job in the world and you had the qualifications to do it, and you could just snap your fingers and step into that role, be it for 6 months just to try it out, what would you do and where would you do it? So, you know, obviously anywhere in the world, astronaut, racing car driver, actor, singer, winemaker. Have you ever, like, growing up, was there something?
I've actually thought about this a couple of times in the last little while. I don't think because we spoke about it.
But more just because it's like you get those sliding doors moments. Like, what if I finish uni and become a...
Yeah, what did I write it down for? I read something about it, though.
Yeah.
No, see, I actually love what I do. There's, you know, I do like what I see. I love standing in site meetings, and, you know, Lily's thinking about either being an interior designer or an architect, and I do love that side of building.
Yeah.
Like, if I had time, I'd probably go and I'd love to study architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need to in this situation. You just get the degree.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you're an architect.
But then, you know, I'd love to build a sculpture in lockdown, and so I'd love to be able to express myself that way, because that was fun.
The great thing about that is you can.
Yeah.
Right. You don't need to go, like architecture, they're pretty strict about that. You have to go to uni and stuff. But
That's what I'm saying. If I had time,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to study for 4 years now.
No.
Like,
And I don't think you'll get away with just like RPL.
No.
Start designing buildings
I haven't got
and hope no one picks up on it.
on that. But you know, like, no, I generally do enjoy what I do. You know, but I do generally want to do a little bit less. But I still think I'd give more.
You've got some unfinished business there, by the sounds of it.
Oh, not really. Like, I want to. My bucket list is like McPhus, do some really cool garden, but I only want to work on really. Not only, I enjoy a challenge of a difficult build.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for I mean, obviously, and I'll say this because you can't, but for people that want to get in touch with you, be very aware that Rob's work's quite specific to certain quality and certain standards, which has to cost a certain amount of money.
Yep. But we do small.
I'm not saying you don't do small. I'm just saying you don't do cheap.
No, but
So
yeah,
there's a reality there. But if people are interested in learning a bit more about what you do, Instagram is a good start.
Instagram's good. Website. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not a super active sort of person on that. But
this is something we talk about tongue in cheek a lot about Rob's lack of marketing. There's no logos on any of the cars. I mean, you've got uniforms now, which is good.
I printed some business cards the other day.
I love how you print business cards just when they're about to, like, no one does business cards anymore.
Yeah, but I've put a QR code on the back of it.
And what does it take it to?
It takes to my website.
Okay, well, that's good.
And to all my socials and so
Perfect.
it's just something different.
Like
I needed it for that home show.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, man.
Otherwise I wouldn't.
Obviously, I really wanted to make sure that I did the a due service. I talked about the first time I podcasted Josh Hooper. I kind of talked over him a lot, and it was very early days, and that's why I wanted to do another podcast with him recently. I hope I've given you a good opportunity to talk about your 20 years of experience and give people some good insight around what it takes and what's involved in getting to the point where you've got, high end.
Yeah, hopefully I gave enough, but I never thought about that. Do a part 2 of my garden one time.
Yeah, so after you deal with all this fucking bullshit, get that out of the way. That'd be cool. The plan originally was for us to do this at Rob's house when it's finished.
Well, in spring we said, yeah.
Sorry, it was in spring, wasn't it? Your timing's not great now, so we'll just have to do a part 2 in summer and head up there. And you don't have snakes up there, do you?
Not by the house.
No,
down the creek we do.
Duffy's from England. He hasn't seen any snakes.
Big browns.
So if anyone wants to get in touch with Rob, check out his Instagram. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your attention. If you've got any questions for me or Rob, just stick them in the comments or DM him or myself. Rob may not be very active posting on Instagram, but he will be active on responding to inquiries.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, man.